This is where we just get to gather and have a chat about spirituality and what it all means and all the different practices and theories and philosophies and just having fun with it. We just pick a topic so randomly out of what we call the fishbowl and we just start talking about it. We talk about what's working for us, what's not, what might be challenging to grasp our head around or wrap our head around, or something that we might always wanted to try and just haven't done it. So it's a way to like really up level our wellness and well-being in ways that we might not have thought about before. Maybe we've been practicing let that go, or maybe been wanting to practice it so we really get to be aligned with the natural rhythms of our soul, of the universe, of the divine nature, of whatever might be out there. So I'm so glad that you're joining us. And we're co-hosting this with Monica. And today we have our special guest, Emily Burfoot, as well. So welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to get into today's topic. Now, as Jennifer said, these are randomly chosen topics. So we did a little moment to let this conversation be divinely guided. And the topic for today is celebration. Whoa,
Great
right?
topic.
Celebration, yes. That's super exciting because we just passed yesterday was the 9/9 Power Day, right, of September. And so 9 months into this year. And so in some ways we think of that as completion, but it's also celebration. And, what we may or may not have intended for January 1st for this year and what's been unfolding. So yeah, that's pretty cool that we ended up in celebration this time. May not align when this is actually aired, but it's a fun topic. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it is a fun topic. So, the question for all of us to answer um, is this something that is a part of our own spiritual practice? So, I guess we can start with Emily. Is celebration a part of your spiritual practice?
This is such like a timely question for me because I feel like the pandemic, like up until the pandemic period, celebration was my spiritual practice. Just where can we create a celebration? How can we make it amazing? How many people can we get involved in the celebration? And there's just something about celebration that just keeps the vibe so high because everybody is so in this. I mean, it's the frequency of joy, right? It's one of the highest frequencies there is. And so essentially, like in an ideal world, celebration would be part of my daily practice. But ever since the beginning of the pandemic, it hasn't happened for me. I've dropped the celebration piece and I just can't wait to get it back because it's so important. How about you guys?
Yeah. So I am a person who celebrates everything, big and small. I'm what you call a hype man, right? Like, if someone is dancing, I'm gonna go, 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 right? Like, if someone comes in and is like, I just got this, then I'm like, whoa, like, and make a big deal of it. So I didn't really think about it as a part of my spiritual practice, right? But the thing that I always say about my spiritual practice is being tapped into the undercurrent of joy, right? And like when things are hard, to like tap into that joy, to kind of like lift you through those moments. And so I do think it actually, even though it doesn't feel like I'm setting an intention to celebrate, right? But the fact that I am in the moment, with someone when there's something to celebrate, I think is kind of what makes all of my days fun, right? Like it makes my ability to kind of move past, like, we're when you watch this, I will probably already be back from vacation, but I'm headed to vacation. And it's really not vacation. It's really just kind of like a retreat to refortify myself. But I'm exhausted this week, and the things that helped me is when someone came in and we were able to celebrate whatever their accomplishment was, or we were able to celebrate, a milestone, or we're able to celebrate getting something off the list of things to do, like that celebration has been like, okay, a little more wind underneath my wings, especially when I'm tired of flapping, right? And so um, we've discussed before, the whole purpose for spiritual practice is to be able to cope when things get hard. That's why we practice, so that when it's in real life happening, we have that tool to use. And I think I've actually had to tap into that quite often lately, just to get me through. What about you, Jennifer?
Hmm. I loved hearing that because I love celebration and not a lot of people do it. I get super excited. Like I have so much enthusiasm and zest for life and I just want to live it fully. But not everybody feels that way,
Hmm.
and for some, celebratory times are like not fun and they're actually really sad or they may be grieving and that's kind of hard. And like you say, Monica, about the idea of it being a way that we can cope as well. But some people just can't, and there's that resistance to it. So being around people that are in that kind of space, it's kind of hard. Not hard because you can still be the light for people, and still share that love and that upliftment. But it's it can be challenging. It's definitely
Yeah.
challenging. And when I think of it though as a spiritual practice, what comes to mind is rejoicing with
Mhm.
each other, and really commending people for what they're excited about and what they're doing and what they've accomplished and, feel empowered by what they realize they're capable of, and that's what I get to rejoice in. And I think I do more celebration and rejoicing for others than I actually do for myself,
Mm.
and so I'm noticing that as we're talking about it, just becoming more aware that what do I really celebrate for myself? What do I rejoice in for myself? I think maybe taking rejoice and celebrating, a flower blooming, something simple like that. It doesn't have to be associated with a holiday kind of celebration
Yeah.
or an accomplishment or graduation or something that we normally think of as celebration, but maybe even just, celebrating a new day. I wake up like that. Like I wake up celebrating the new day. Thank you for this new day, this new experience, another day in the life of, being human and celebrating like my first beverage of the morning, celebrating that time I get to spend with myself for breakfast. It's something I look forward to. And I guess that's a bit of celebration and rejoicing
Yeah.
too, is like really receiving and accepting the blessings in that moment or what life is offering.
Mm.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
both mentioned kind of like pandemic time, right? And how we like lost celebration. And I think you're right. Like, obviously when we got sent to our global timeout to think about what we did with our lives,
Mm.
the first thing that went away was all of those bigger moments where um, we came together in community to
Mm.
actually be in celebration or to rejoice for things. And so I think this is kind of timely, I think, for all of us, is to remember that the whole point of getting together for a wedding, right? The whole point of getting together for a baby shower, the whole point of getting together for a birthday party, uh, and for holidays and all of that, is to tap into that opportunity to rejoice and to be in celebration and to be in joy of each other, and of what milestones we've come across, family reunions. I mean, like when you think about all the ways that we have kind of created ceremony around different areas of
Mm.
our lives. Uh, that's a really good point. Like that, you guys are really making me think right now. But like, hey, we've been doing it, and we didn't even think we were practicing something. You know, larger than us. It seemed frivolous and tiny and just almost selfish in some ways, right? Like a birthday party feels like like a selfish thing, but in a lot of ways, it's not, right? It's an opportunity for everybody who gets involved to have a moment of celebration and rejoice. And so now, I guess I guess our practice should be to throw a party every week. I feel like that's what we're going with this.
Why not?
Yeah,
Does
Emily, are
this
you down for
mean,
the party?
I mean, I always used to be, like I say, prior to, before the pandemic, always, where's the party? Where's the party?
Hmm.
And, does this mean that the highest spiritual calling is party planner, party host? Like, I think what's really important, like, I loved what you mentioned, Monica, about celebrating, like, having an attitude of celebration. And Jennifer,
Hmm.
you talked about it as well. This attitude of celebrating. And I guess what is interesting is, that issue of when somebody is really struggling to lift their frequency above whatever they're moving through, whether it's grief or sadness or trauma. And I mean, I had an incident this week where somebody I knew was very locked in this vibration of the story of hardship and
Mm.
difficulty. And I tried to call this person into their highest their highest frequency and say, it's time for you to change the record you're playing, because this is not necessarily the only record you can play, and it's actually not helping you to listen to this record. And this person wasn't ready, and I kind of had this. I mean, you're right, Jennifer. There is this kind of it's not always clear cut, but a lot of it is about having an attitude of looking for what to celebrate, because when we, where attention goes, energy flows, right?
Hmm.
So what we're choosing to focus our energy on, this is almost like a kind of law of attraction thing, where if we choose to focus on things we can celebrate, we end up attracting more things that we can celebrate.
Hmm. Yeah. When you were talking, I was thinking of all those silly things that we've heard over the years of find the silver lining, right? Or an attitude of gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
or choose joy, right? Just smile. Like there's so many things that we've heard that are like almost feel like empty platitudes, when we hear them, or like just another poster in your guidance counselor's office, right? But maybe they were hieroglyphics to what we need to pull in when we're in those darker moments of finding the silver lining, finding the joy in it. And I know one of the things that I had started doing when people were grieving, our messaging to people is sorry for your loss, right? Like that's the first thing they say when someone's grieving something. And I always thought, I had like thought about it, and I was like, I feel like that doesn't bring any more comfort, right? To say, I'm sorry for your loss. And so I was like, well, what would I say instead that may bring comfort? And the phrasing that I came up with was, I hope their memory brings you joy, right? Instead of, I'm sorry for your loss. And so I started kind of like putting that out there. And it did shift people saying, thank you. Yeah, I really did love that they were this, that, and the other. And the funny thing is, they used to say this, that, or the other, and we were able to find that space of joy, even though we are mourning their loss. And so I do think the celebration of someone's life is what a funeral is supposed to be, right? Like it's the celebration of their life. And I think in some religious practices, it ends up being the opposite of that, where it becomes like this, like, oh, I have to be like drab, to respect the person missing. But when my grandmother passed away, I decided to lean on to the make her memory bring me joy moment. And so every time I thought of her, it wasn't when, oh, I miss her. It was more of like, she would have said this crazy off colored joke here and laughed,
Mm.
right? And she would have made fun of this person's hat at her funeral. Like, like just
Mm.
kind of like bringing forward the parts of her that brought me joy in those moments when I was thinking of her and like how we were celebrating her life. Um, because she was a funny lady and sitting around and being sad what did not honor her life in
Mm.
any kind of a way. It didn't bring celebration to all that she had brought to the world in any kind of a way. And so
Mm.
that helped me quite a bit.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like it's an attitude of celebration is just always trying to seek the highest frequency way to
Mhm.
approach something. And yeah, it can ruffle feathers, but
Yeah.
on balance, like an injection of joy, like if that they I think it was the Buddha who said that if you give a gift and somebody refuses it, like who does the gift belong to? So if you give joy and it's refused, well, that still belongs to you, so
Yep.
no reason not to.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Yeah, I love what you shared, Monica, too, about that shift in thinking, from the funeral that's usually sad and wearing black and drab into a celebration of life. And it got me thinking too about other ways that celebration, what that looks like. How is that experienced? And quite often, I know for myself, it's food. Like when my family gets together and we put all the things out on the table and we're just noshing all day, and there's laughter, and there's sometimes there may be drinks, but there's always food and there's laughter, and that brings so much celebration and joy. And for me, I love to dance. I love
Mm,
dancing. And that's like the best form of meditation for me, of celebration, of rejoicing, of even if I'm angry or if I'm grieving, no matter what I might be feeling, dance just helps me to move that energy, and to be with it and dance with it, dancing with life, and all the emotions. And so it becomes a very physical thing too, then when we notice how it is in our body and how it wants to move our body. I love dancing. Dancing to me
yeah.
is celebration also. And yeah, food and drinks and cheers, and there's all in the tapping on the spoon, or using your spoon and tapping on the cup, for people
Hmm.
at a wedding. Like there's all these different things that we do to kind of spark that joy and rejoice in each other and celebrate. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is a really interesting topic. All the
Right.
celebration could take, and when we resist it and when we embrace it. And
Yeah. Yeah. But that music, I mean, when you think about it, like babies can't help but move when
yeah,
there's music playing. And if everybody else is happy and playing and dancing, little kids are like, oh, it's time. And they go right into it with you, right?
that's so true.
Like, oh, okay. Even I mean, if you look at your animals, right?
Mm.
You like burst out into dance in your house, the dogs are going to come and look over at you. They'll wag their tail like you're having fun. I'm having fun too. Uh, and so I do think celebration is contagious.
Yeah.
Um, it you can't sit like this too long with everybody around you having a good time. Um, it'll either propel you to just leave the situation, or you know what, let me just go ahead and lean into this moment. But when someone's like dancing and they're like, yes, like, yeah, it does draw you in, right? If nothing else, like you have like a smile at like whatever they look like, whether they're on beat or not, whatever whatever beat they're on, whatever frequency they're vibing out to. It does kind of give you like a, okay, well, you know what, I'm happy you're happy even if I'm not happy right now. And so that, yeah, dance is definitely part of the celebratory experience for sure. And
Yeah.
food. Oh yeah.
And food. I
Definitely food.
know.
And music, like to bring the vibes of celebration into my work, I've started again listening to really uplifting dance music when I'm
Yes.
sitting at my desk. It works so well.
Nice. You're like, okay, we're gonna work today. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, oh yeah. Gotta get the things
Yeah.
going. I love that.
It really lightens things up, and it makes life fun again. And
Yeah.
we take it way too seriously sometimes, and that's spiritual, right? Because then our spirit moves us. Our spirit's
Mhm,
coming in and it's moving us, and or we're connecting with the spirit of the loved one that's passed on.
mhm.
We're bringing that celebration of life in all its forms.
Yeah. The grocery store is my new place to party.
Oh yeah. How so?
Well, so I'm in my 40s, and so that means I'm the target demographic for uh, for people who shop, and so they tend to play music that was party music in my 20s
Yeah,
now
I
in the
never thought
grocery
about
store
that.
as the soundtrack.
So
And
true.
so literally we'll be in the grocery store and I'll just be like singing along, and my daughter's like, every store, you're gonna dance in every store, and I'm like, I can't help it. Like they're playing my music, they are speaking to me directly, and yeah. So even mundane grocery shopping has now been like club experience.
That's awesome.
But what happens too, though, is other people will see me dancing, and some people will actually join in. Are like, "Oh no, I love this song, right? Yeah, me too." We have this like moment of connection, or they'll just chuckle at me like dancing like crazy in the chip aisle, and so I've spread joy in that moment, just being kind of like completely in a moment of celebration because I loved the song. That was the only reason that I needed to be in celebration at that moment, is because the song felt good to me.
Mm.
I think
Mhm.
that's the perfect place to do it because it can have a really dead atmosphere, and people need to be reminded like what it feels like to be alive. Like life is all about like new information, like you said, Jennifer, like the spirit moving you and moving your
Mhm.
body, like, and then like that's how we connect, isn't it? It's like our bodies and could connect, resonate with the music, and then by doing that we resonate with everybody else, and then we're all connected. And that's the whole point of spirituality, is to feel connected and to feel alive. So I'm loving that. I'm going to try that actually.
More people should do it. That's the new spiritual practice, right? Is
Totally.
like go to the grocery store, and while you're pushing, if a song moves you, you just move with it.
Yeah.
That we're gonna have like an epidemic of like grocery stores.
Love it. And it's feeling alive,
Yeah,
and it's amazing. And what do they call those things? I already forgot. Like a flash mob? You know,
yeah.
all of a
Yes.
sudden there's a song on, everyone just starts dancing. I mean,
Just
who
starts
thought of
dancing.
that? Like, and that really caught on, didn't it? Like that was
Yeah.
worldwide, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to reteach ourselves, and because we were like out of practice of celebration. I know it's still weird when I go to parties, right? Like people are still a little standoffish, a little less like, outside of their skin. Because we had that 3 years where we were told like people were dangerous, right? We were told that like kind of like touching and interacting too closely was dangerous. And for a period of time, that was necessary, right? But we're not there anymore. And so since we're not there anymore, we kind of have to retrain ourselves how to do it. But I think because we get to retrain ourselves from like zero, let's like retrain ourselves to do it in like a better way, right? Like just being in joy of everybody around you for whatever it is, whether it's dancing in the grocery store or celebrating an outfit that someone's walking down the street like you like the way that they look, and saying, you know what, you really brought it today. There was this lady um, earlier this week, and she had on like every color in the rainbow in her outfit, and she had like these crazy bangles on. Her glasses were a different color, and her dress had like all this pattern on it. And like looking at her outfit just made me happy. And I just told her, I was like, your outfit brings me joy. And she's like, thanks. Yeah. I who says we have to stop wearing white? Who says we have to stop wearing color? And so like even celebrating something something or some experience that you like someone else is bringing to you and saying, you know what, thank you for that, and like I appreciate this. I think if we started doing more of that, right, like I think we all feel better. She felt great because I acknowledged her hard work in putting together her outfit. I felt great because her face lit up when I told her that. And also the outfit like was screaming at me like from like, across the street. And so I had to say something. And so I think being in celebration of like all the little things that are bringing us joy could make a huge difference in our lives.
Yeah, totally. It can so easily become a daily habit, and we don't have to like create a day to be able to
Yeah.
celebrate it. I mean, like make it a national, international kind of holiday for celebration and acknowledgement, or a birthday or anniversary or any of those things. Like it could be like just an everyday, mundane to the, profound kind of celebration, just having fun, enjoying life and being with it. And yeah, I love it.
I love it too. I love it too. We have one last question. And the question is, how can we, our final, I guess, tip or advice, how can we use celebration, like just a summary of how can we use celebration as a part of our spiritual practice moving forward? Emily, why don't you start off?
Well, I just restarted my gratitude jar, and I decided it's like, I mean, I know that I hope that you're both going to talk about something other than a gratitude jar, but I decided to myself, like, whenever I feel like I'm really celebrating something, I'm going to put something in the gratitude jar, and it feels good. It feels good to be back in that, like the glimmers of excitement
Ooh,
and hope. It's the opposite of a trigger, by the way. So every time I have a glimmer, it goes in the gratitude jar.
I like that word glimmer. I just wrote that down.
Mhm.
It's like I'm gonna use that word more often because it made me feel good when you said it. So
Yay.
glimmer, love that. Jennifer, about you?
Yeah, similarly, I've been thinking about I can get really hard on myself and push myself and get into that, tight kind of space. And so to lighten that up and to just acknowledge things, I've been writing out like a success log of the day, just to acknowledge what I've done and celebrate that. But then I started thinking it's not really it's not always about success and accomplishment to celebrate, And so I started thinking, okay, what were the highlights of my day? So it wasn't just what I accomplished that day or achieved that day. It's more about what what were the highlights? What was the day about? What lifted me up? What got my attention? What beauty did I see? All of the different things that aren't necessarily related to a success, but as something that can be celebrated, just life in general, what shows up in a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and I
love that.
and I admit I don't always write it down. So sometimes I just think, oh, I forgot to write that. But then I think, okay, well, I can think that, and I can still bring it up and acknowledge it and celebrate that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Recently, one of the young people that I'm working with, we were talking about her adulting and how, as an adult, she gets to choose the life that she wants to live, like all of it. And one of the things that we had talked about is holidays. I was like, you don't have to celebrate the holidays that you don't want to celebrate, and you can celebrate holidays that don't exist. And she's like, you mean I can actually decide that the fourth Friday of the month is like my personal holiday to do this thing? And I was like, yeah, like all the traditions, all of the ceremonies, all of the she's like, so we're gonna eat tacos on the fourth Friday? And I was like, yeah, if that's what you want the tradition to be, then do it. And we're gonna play games. And I was like, yeah, like you get to create that. And so I think my advice would be to review all of the holidays that you are currently prescribed to celebrate and ask yourself, well, what would that really look like if I could do it without, if I could wipe the slate clean and create the holiday that makes me feel um, the most like joyous, that have that glimmer, because I love that word, have that glimmer in it. Like, what would make this holiday glimmer for me? and then just put those into practice. And then if there are days like that are in between those holidays that you want to be able to celebrate, maybe it's an anniversary of a random show that you liked, or like, or this is the day that my dog came into my life, and so we're going to celebrate that. And you want to make a big deal of it, make a big deal of it, because life is too short to not celebrate these things. So that would be my advice uh, for how we kind of can add more celebration as a practice in our lives. So,
Awesome.
yes, this has been a fantastic conversation uh, and surprising. I want to thank you, Emily, for being a part of our little experiment that Jennifer and I have created here. Uh, and how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, I can send you my links. I have a website which is transpirational.com. But there may be some other links that I want to share with you, so I can pop those over. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great. We'll put those in the show notes so that people um, can be able to kind of reach out with you. And Jennifer and I also had this crazy kooky idea that instead of just having these conversations as a podcast, that we would also do it as a meetup as well. So we are putting together a space where we can get together after we have gotten real on the podcast. We're going to keep it real in the meetup. So if you are interested in kind of coming and having a virtual conversation with us about your own practice, we would love to see you there. That's going to be on Fridays. And also, we'll have the links for how you can do that in the show notes as well. This has been fantastic. Is there anything else, Jennifer, that you want to add before we close?
Ah, no, this has been so much fun. And I celebrate you, Monica, and I celebrate you, Emily, and I celebrate every single one of you that have been watching and listening. So,
Oh,
you know.
thank you.
Mhm.
Yay.